All right, welcome everybody to our May 10th regular board meeting. It looks like we are letting our attendees in, so I will give just a minute or two for those people to join our webinar. Hope everybody is enjoying the beautiful spring day. It's gorgeous out. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, this is our May 10th regular board meeting of the Vancouver Public Schools School Board. We are going to start with roll call. Director Decker.
Here.
Director Smith. Here. Director Sproul.
Here.
And Director Zavala.
Here.
Perfect, and I am also here, so we are all present. I am going to go ahead. The first item on the agenda for tonight is our superintendent report, and so I am going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Snell.
Thank you, Director Barros. Good evening, everyone. It actually feels like spring out today, so it's nice to see the sunshine and see our kids outside playing and having a good time today. So I do have a few items that I'd like to update you on this evening. And I have a special guest to help me with item number 2. So the first item is just follow up from our last meeting. Last meeting we discussed highly capable. We definitely continue to have a program goal of challenging the learning engagement opportunities for all of our identified highly capable students. And our current programming is delivered through our self-contained model and our neighborhood school models. And our plan is to continue that for the 22-23 school year. And then also go along with a longer process to really engage stakeholders and to look at resources and potentially make recommendations for the 23-24 school year, kind of working backwards from the March 23 timeline. So I know we had a robust discussion in our last meeting, and so just wanted to call your attention to that and to the next steps. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Nora from VSAA, who is a representative this evening from our student advisory team. And so Nora, if you're ready, I'll get the slides going.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Thank you, Dr. Snell. So, hi everybody. My name is Nora Van Rees. I am a student representative, as Dr. Snell said, from the Vancouver School of Arts and Academics. And if you guys might have noticed, the school board committee or position has looked a lot different this year than it has in years past, partially due to Dr. Snell's new leadership as superintendent of Vancouver Public Schools. So what we've done this year is something really cool that hasn't really been done before in the VPS district. What we've done is created a student advisory committee, welcoming 19 new members and 4 returning members for the 2022 to 2023 school year. The goal of this group is to focus on building community and working towards amplifying student voices across the district. I would say our main goal right now is to really gather student feedback and focus on what students want and how we can make those changes happen in all schools. So something we did at our last meeting to help this goal come into action was looking at the panorama data. So we analyzed the panorama data, noticing growth areas and strengths. So the panorama survey, grades 3 through 12 filled this survey out, and we found that across all grade levels, there was a lot of strength in the positive relationships, diversity, and inclusion data. So we found that it was really good and very favorable in the way students saw positive relationships and diversity at their school. So that's something that we can keep doing as a district that makes students feel very good. And then some areas of growth that we could work on improving for students are sense of belonging, emotional regulation, and self-efficacy. So these were areas that we noticed that the data is less favorable and areas that we need to improve on. So one thing that I brought up during the student advisory committee was my sense that diversity and inclusion in schools often leads to a sense of belonging. So with this idea or thesis, if you will, we noticed that higher levels of diversity and inclusion will create more feelings of belonging among students. So how can we do this? We notice that grades 3 through 5 struggle more with emotional regulation, while grades 6 through 12 struggle with self-efficacy and belonging. And I think that these struggles between the different grade levels are coinciding, like they go together based on age development, but they're also very different in the challenges that students face. So next steps, what are we doing next? We're going to continue to work on brainstorming ideas on how to increase a sense of belonging among students at Vancouver Public Schools. From speaking from personal experience as a student, I know that when I feel like I belong, I know that I work harder, I feel more part of my community at my school, and I find that I have better relationships with students and staff in my community. So we want to make this something that's attainable for all students, regardless of grade level or where they come from. So my question to the board of directors today and for community members is what can we do as a district to create a common goal or unifying experience for students that also increases feelings of belonging? So what steps can we take to make sure that students feel like they belong? And a way to do this would be creating a common goal or unifying experience, something that brings the student body together and makes them feel like they have a community where they can be at home among their students. Yeah. So that's all I have for today for a student advisory update. If there's time, Dr. Snell, I would be happy to answer any questions or address any comments about my presentation today.
Nora, I just want to say thank you for bringing this information to the board. I think this is a perfect example of why I think we're all excited about the Student Advisory Committee. The fact that you are using the panorama data, I think that in and of itself is a great example of how we use data to kind of determine next steps and determine actions. But I love the fact that it is not a group of adults that are looking at the data and deciding what to do, but you guys as students, because it's your data. And I think you guys know best as far as what would create that sense of belonging and within your own group. So I'm excited to just continue to hear about the work you guys are doing.
And this is excuse me, this is Director Decker, and I too would echo what Director Barrows just said. I am so thrilled at your ability to take a look at all that data and decide what the focus should be. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how you as a group develop some plans to help us move forward with that, but also within your own school communities, work with the administrators in those buildings to come up with a plan, because I know it's not just you reporting to the board about things that you've talked about, but you guys actually putting forth some action items to do within your buildings. And I think nobody but the students knows best what helps students feel that sense of belonging and how to give your fellow students efficacy in their decision making. So thank you so much. And I'm very excited to see how this plays out in your buildings as well. And it gives us food for thought for how to develop a higher level kind of policy area of what do we as a district need to do to help the buildings do what you guys have suggested. So thank you, Nora. I hope that made sense. Thanks.
No, it did. Thank you very much.
I just want to add, like my colleague said, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciated the prompt you gave us, because I think you show that finding that common goal and that we all have a role, regardless of where we are in the system, that we can all work together to kind of have that unifying goal towards improving student experience and sense of belonging. So That was a really thoughtful prompt, and I feel like it's a very good introduction into our strategic planning season. So I want to thank you for that. I always love presentations that kind of leave us food for thought to think about. I also really want to compliment you and the team on recognizing kind of the areas of opportunity in our younger kids with our older kids and seeing that there was an overlap, but it might manifest differently. I think that that's really good insight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our next steps, we're struggling to find a way to all come together because, as Nora said, we're adding 19 members. And so we're actually going to do an all Zoom meeting. We talked about this in the last session we had, because we felt like everybody might be able to log in no matter what. And we're going to talk more about the data and next steps and refine our questions and really hopefully leave this year with an idea of what next year will look like. And then we're going to have an in-person social with the group as well to just, have some pizza and just try to build those relationships, because one of the outcomes is the advisory is to certainly help the board with their decision making, but it's also to build relationships across our schools with students. And so we think that that's really important. In addition, Nora and Clark, who are part of the original core that will go on next year, have volunteered to be co-facilitators next year. And so they will work with me to set agendas and to check in with students and provide that leadership. So we really appreciate them stepping up. They're the first ones, right? Like to do that, the inaugural co-facilitators. So I'm super excited to work with them. And then we're also having some of our student advisory members participate in some key interviews of hiring of staff. As you are aware, but maybe the public's not aware, we've changed practices around hiring principals and leadership teams where we're really trying to empower student voice and staff and community voice. And so they'll be a part of our communications director hire that's coming up soon. So we're excited about all these opportunities to add a powerful and thoughtful and wise voice in our students. So if there aren't any other questions for Nora, I think we'll let her say goodnight tonight, and she's welcome to stay on, but she's also very busy. So any final thoughts for Nora?
I have a final thought.
Please, Nora.
Yeah, I would love to stay on for a little bit, as long as I can, to observe, if that's all right.
Absolutely. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to continue on with a little bit of content in my superintendent's report before I throw it back to you, Director Barrows. Strategic planning was referenced in the comments to the student advisory, and we are getting close to launching what would be a year-long experience where we look to engage stakeholders to help us prioritize next steps for the district. The first step of this is working with some one-on-one board interviews with a consultant to really understand what your hopes are for the process, not just only about outcomes, but about the process itself, what kinds of activities. And then also some interviews of cabinet level leadership to really take what we've shared in previous board meetings as a draft strategic planning scope and sequence, but really finalize that based on your feedback. We also would like to launch here in the next month or so some sort of initial community outreach of really polling the community about their hopes, aspirations, the dreams that they have for the children in our community. And so that will be kind of an anchor point of just like, what do we want to accomplish as a public school system in our community? After we've done some of that, then we're going to meet with our consultant over the summer and really refine the plan and scope out the work and then bring that back to the board for potential approval. So I just wanted to loop you back in. Thanks to Kyle and Sandra who helped interview consultants on behalf of representing the board. And so it was a good process. We had some great consultants that wanted to partner with us. And so that's super cool. We're excited to move the work forward. On pandemic planning and response, This is the slide that I'm usually sharing now, the updated dashboard from Clark County Public Health. You can see over here in the corner, it has our rates over time. And we hit that huge high back in January, February with Omicron. And then we had a steep curve back down where we were really living in the land of very few cases, which was awesome. And now we're starting to see an increase as well. And that's reflective of not just us in Clark County, but the state and the country as we see more cases come up. I continue to check in with public health. Now, instead of weekly, it's every other week. And we continue to share our plans of adding back activities, adding back experiences for volunteers, or whatever the structure that was that looked different during our high levels of mitigation. And they've been comfortable with our kind of adding back in. But we do continue to check in just to make sure, if there's trends that are going on. Of course, our number one priority is to have in-person school. And then all the other extras we want to add on top of that. So the Department of Health did just release some updates for late spring and what they're forecasting for the fall. And we don't see, based on what we know now, we don't see a lot of change from what we're doing currently in school. As you know, though, there was a lot of fluctuations last year between this time and when we started school in September. So I will continue to update on that information, but we continue to be hopeful to have experiences that are closer to what we all hope can happen in schools without the mitigation levels that sometimes interfere with that. So I'll continue to bring that forward to you. And that's all I have for the superintendent report. I'm happy to answer any questions or if there are comments from the board about any of the topics that we discussed this evening.
All right. It does not sound like there are any questions for Dr. Snell, so thank you for your report. Next on the agenda, we have Employee Excellence Awards. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Everidge for the presentations.
Great. Thank you, Board of Directors and Superintendent Snell. It is time to recognize our May 2022 Employee Excellence Award recipients. The following employees were selected by a committee of their peers for commitment to the students and staff of Vancouver Public Schools. This month's recipients were among the many outstanding nominees who create a caring environment and positive workplace through their exceptional efforts. For information about each recipient, or if you would like to submit a nomination, please visit our district website at vansd.org. So to start off our recipients this evening, we are going to be honoring staff from Sacagawea Elementary. There's staff that Jennifer Bebato, teacher, hired January 2011. Maya Magdaleno, paraeducator, hired November 2019. And Stephanie Zeiger, teacher, hired September 2018. This team has top-notch communication and planning skills that create opportunities for parents and guardians to be actively involved in their children's education. They meet regularly with families to plan for student success. They also bring a flexible and individualized approach that inspires growth and makes each student feel included. Respect, kindness, and empathy are paramount. Jennifer, Stephanie, and Maya are praised for their patience with their students, taking the time to understand their individual needs and learning styles. Congratulations to you all. Next, we'd like to recognize Oren Burt, hired January 2006, building operator at Hudson's Bay High School. His nominators say that Oren exemplifies the school's core values called the Bay Way. Oren models the traits of community, ownership, critical thinking, empathy, and perseverance. Throughout the pandemic, he has worked hard to keep students and staff safe by implementing complex and changing prevention and mitigation strategy practices throughout a very large facility. He has a talent for collaboration with all the colleagues on the Bay staff. They call him an asset to their team. Congratulations to Oren. Next, I'd like to recognize Ryan Callahan. He was hired January 2012. He's a teacher at Geyser Middle School, and he also coaches at Geyser and Columbia River High School. Ryan is a champion for students and athletes, said one nominator. His patience and care with all students has been so evident during these trying times in education. Open communication is one of his priorities, and he devotes ample time to keeping everyone informed. He strives to make personal connections with his players and cares about how they're doing physically and mentally, said one of his student athletes. He has taught me a lot more and pushed me to be the best player I can be. So congratulations to Ryan. Next, we'd like to recognize Katie Dunfield. She was hired August 1999. She is a digital learning coach with our information and technology services. Katie pays forward her commitment to lifelong learning. She supports staff members in their work to teach the knowledge and skills students need to be successful in college and/or the workforce. One of her specialties is the use of digital learning tools such as iPads to create lessons that challenge and inspire students. Said one educator, she always has a warm disposition and quickly puts anyone at ease if they don't understand how to use a new app. Katie's nickname is Technology Superhero. Congratulations, Katie. And finally, tonight, we'd like to recognize our TV studio staff, Ian Southworth, video production specialist hired February 2001, and Nick Bull, television production supervisor hired June 2010. On any given day, you can find this Emmy award-winning team producing videos and podcasts about the innovative projects and successes of Vancouver's students and staff. They secure funding for equipment used in school video production classes. By providing live coverage of sport events, including the recent high-profile state basketball tournaments, they give student interns opportunities to learn important job skills. And for at least one student, this internship was a catalyst to stay in school and graduate. Ian and Nick help empower our students. So on behalf of all of us here in VPS, we want to congratulate all of our May Employee Excellence Award winners this month. Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations. Thank you, Kathy, for that presentation. And thank you to our amazing employees. We are always excited to hear about the great work that you guys are doing in our district. Next on the agenda, we are moving into the audience participation portion of our meeting. This is where we have citizen comments and allow members of our community to address the board. Citizen comments is the time in our meeting where the board and administrative staff like to hear comments from the public. Because most matters require fact-finding and review, the board is not able to respond to any public comments made at this time. Additionally, the state's Open Public Meetings Act restricts deliberation on topics that have not been placed on the publicly noticed agenda in advance. If follow-up action is necessary, the board will ask the superintendent to work with administrative staff to consider the information and respond accordingly. Speakers are expected to be respectful. Personnel complaints and personal attacks are not permitted. The board asks that personnel complaints be submitted in writing. Speakers will be promoted to panelists as I call their name. Please state your name and affiliation with the district for the record. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. If you hear a chime, please conclude your remarks. And there will, I think, be a timer on the screen as well for you to kind of track your time. If you have materials or additional comments you'd like for the board to review, please submit those to vpsboard.directors@vansd.org. That information will be shared with the superintendent and board. The board appreciates, listens, and cares about the broad range of perspectives in our community. We thank you for your comments. And I will ask, if you have signed up for public comment, if you could please make sure that your screen name matches the name that you have signed up with. That just makes it a lot easier for us to find you and promote you to the panel. So first up on the list, we have Katie Bauer.
Promoting.
Perfect. And then there are a couple of people after her that are also using the same account. So we'll just keep that account pulled up for the people after that. All right, Katie, it looks like you have been promoted. When you're ready, you can unmute.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Oh, sorry, need my glasses.
So say your name and affiliation with the district, and then you will have 3 minutes.
Okay, Katie Bauer, parent of a student. I want to thank Skyview High School for their recent newsletter. There was a reminder in the newsletter to make sure students' vaccinations were up to date before school starts up again in the fall. They included both options given to families regarding the childhood vaccination schedule. You can either submit a record of each shot and date, Or you can complete an exemption form, legally opting your child out of receiving the mandated shots. In the past, it was rare to see this information given freely to students and families. At one point, 3 years ago, I visited the nurse at my child's high school because a notice was sent out about the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella shot. It did not mention the ability to receive an exemption. When I spoke to the nurse in her office, she said she did help draft the notice about the MMR mandate and that they didn't have time to put in the exemption part since they were in a hurry to get the notice out to families. I asked the district office to please send out an update. I was told they would, but it was never sent to my knowledge. Every single child has the option to not take a shot through one of three ways: medical, religious, or personal philosophical beliefs. It's a simple one-page form that you and your doctor complete together. The doctor signs off, only acknowledging that he or she counseled the parents on the risks and benefits of each shot. For the MMR shot, the citizens of Washington can only take a medical or religious exemption for that one shot. A law was passed a couple of years ago that does not allow for a personal philosophical belief exemption for the MMR. So again, thank you, Skyview, for providing all of the information that parents need to make an informed decision. Often it's not the misinformation so much as it is the missing information that isn't given. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. And next up, who I believe is also under that account, we have Sally Snyder. Perfect, Sally. When you are ready, please state your name and affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes as well.
My name's Sally Snyder and I'm a parent. And I just wanted to talk about 2 items. One was on the agenda regarding the Vancouver Public Schools monthly enrollment graph. When you look at it, this last year is not much higher for enrollment than it was during COVID. And I was hoping maybe you could talk about that a little bit. And I would also like to bring up something that I spoke to the board about a year ago. And that was Columbia River High School partnered with Ridgefield High School and the health department to offer a vaccine clinic to students at Columbia River High School without informing parents. And they emailed only the students. And I had 3 students at the school. And in my students' emails, my kids' emails, you could see all the information that went out to the students and absolutely nothing to parents. I did bring this up at 2 school board meetings, and I did present over 100 pages of documents, and I did not hear anything back from the district. So I am hopeful that you are still investigating into that and will reach out to me. The last 2 months when I have made public comment, the district and the school board has reached out to me to answer my questions that I've asked during public comment. And I do appreciate that. And I am hoping that you will investigate into how a vaccine clinic was promoted to only students and not to parents. The district has notified me that there will be COVID testing at the schools next year. And I think this needs immediate attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. And next up, we also have Antonio Salado, who I believe is also there.
I believe he's not here yet.
Okay. Is Richard Erickson there?
Yes, he is.
Okay, we will jump to Richard and Antonio. I mean, when we get to the end of public comment, if he is there, we'll maybe come back to see, but we won't be able to do that later. So Richard, when you are ready, state your name and affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes.
Richard Erickson, I'm a community member. I want to thank members of the board for including the monthly financial statements that included monthly enrollment data for grade. It can be seen that COVID-19 negatively affected the enrollment during the past 2 years. I wouldn't blame the enrollment decrease entirely on the virus itself, though, as there were drastic restrictions that were placed on students and parents over the past 2 years. There was a general adoption by officials that failed to recognize proven science when imposing restrictions or listening to the concerns of parents. Countries that mandated masks and severe lockdowns fared far worse than those that did not. It has been long recognized that parents and immediate family are the primary stakeholders of children through adolescence and even into adulthood. The young are the least affected by the virus with a better than 99% survival rate. We have seen severe acute short-term reactions to this vaccine and have zero idea of the long-term effects. In short, the vaccine should not be universally given to children, as the risk is far greater than the risk of the virus doing harm to this young age group. Pharmaceuticals should now be used to combat any severe illness from the virus. It is time to end the campaign of fear, censorship, and cancel culture used by those in authority. To be clear, parents are the primary stakeholder of their children through the formative years. It is the parent that provides the support, love, guidance, and safety while providing a range of experiences. The parent is a role model that sets limits and teaches responsibility. The primary responsibility of a teacher is to instruct and provide an education in basic disciplines necessary to be successful, for providing the skills necessary to earn a living and provide for oneself in life. At the very least, this entails proficiency in reading, writing, and arithmetic that trains the mind in critical thinking and reasoning. Test scores of students have declined dramatically in recent years. Teachers need to be teaching excellence such as in STEM and other advanced courses. There are many reasons for this contributing to this failure, but equity brought on by the problems in the core curriculum within the education system needs to go back to the basics. Parents are the primary stakeholder for their children and need a greater voice in assuring the safety and curriculum taught in our schools. And I want to thank the board for listening to parents tonight.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. And then I don't know, is Antonio there yet?
No, unfortunately not. So we're
Okay, we do have, there's only 3 other people signed up. So I don't know if, is he on his way or is there a way he could log in wherever he's at?
what time is it
Probably
right
about 10 minutes. So I'm not sure he'll make it in time. I don't really
Okay.
have a way to reach him to have him log in, but I appreciate
Yeah.
you offering that.
Okay, would you like us, after we get through the other 3, would you like us to check back in with you to see if he's there? Or are you okay with us just not having his, I don't want to do what?
If you can check back in, that would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, because we usually come back to people that we've missed. So I will do that with you after the next 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Mindy Chumbley.
Promoting.
All right, Mindy, it looks like you have been promoted. There you are. And you, if you can say your name and affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am a parent. I have a child enrolled in high cap at the Eisenhower School, and then I've got a daughter at VSAA as well. And I am here mostly tonight to say thank you. Thank you to the board for your support and to Superintendent Snell for and the rest of the district for being willing to put changes on hold for a year while good advocacy can happen and we can really dive into this. We have some concerns still, and that's why I'm here tonight. Primarily, we want to encourage the board and the district to do stakeholder work that would include the voices of high cap parents. both those who are in general education classes and those in the self-contained model, as well as teachers. Our concern is that outside of a stakeholder group that's looking at parent and teacher concerns, what was the cluster model, which we do not find appropriate, will just be pushed through. And so we really respectfully ask that a work group include those voices. The second continuing concern is the transparency issue. We've asked for, we've even done a public records request and it hasn't been completed yet. I'm sure it will, but it has not yet been completed, requesting the budget numbers. You know, good advocacy happens with good data. I loved what the panorama presentation at the beginning talked about, and how good data is where you can find progress. And so we would just really would request that the board ask the district to provide that information so that and include us as stakeholders. And then the last thing I wanted to address is I've seen just some comments and heard some people who believe that the high cap parents who are currently involved are, you know, just trying to maintain the status quo, and that could not be farther from the truth. We absolutely support the idea of further solving equity concerns. I like the extra testing that has happened. You know, our student numbers are up. Based on the numbers that we saw, it looked like about 4.5%, but the state does allow funding for up to 5% of our student population. So we can still even, you know, in theory, have more. Taking a look at transportation, taking a look at much better parent communication, and we are really vested in making sure that all high cap kids get services. The truth is that my girls, I said this last month, I don't need to repeat it, but my girls had differentiated education in traditional classrooms, and it was absolutely nothing compared to what was happening inside the self-contained model. And so we just want to see that expanded and more children involved. So thank you again for the pause, and we would just really ask that advocacy include parent voices.
Perfect. Thank you, Mindy. Next on our list for public comment, we have Allison Sundwall.
Promoting.
All right, Allison. Oh, there you are.
That work?
Yes, you are on and we can hear you. So when you are ready, if you could state your name and affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Allison Sunwall. I am a staff member and parent in our school district, and I don't want to take up much of your guys' time tonight. I just wanted to express my gratitude and thanks to our school board and our superintendent and the district offices for the delay in any changes to high cap services that's going to allow hopefully for some thoughtful conversations to happen. And I recognize that high cap is a very, small piece of our big, beautiful school district. So I'm thankful for that. I also wanted to reiterate, I'm really thankful for the extra communications that came out in the newsletter for the district-wide, seeing that article there about high cap, and I really appreciated that. And I am hopeful that the team that is mentioned in that communication is, like Mindy said, going to include all our stakeholders so that our teachers can be heard and families can be heard as we are moving forward. I also wanted to let you guys know that our parent group that we've currently got, that's got almost 90 people in it, is moving forward with the intention, working to formalize as a registered nonprofit that we hope can be a positive partnership with our school district, just to making sure that each highly capable student in our district is going to have the excellent educational services that they need. And I really think that together we can use this as an opportunity to ensure the continued excellence in our highly capable program. And that's all. Just thank you very much. And thanks for the chance to speak.
Thank you, Allison. Next on our list, we have Beth Hornback.
Promoting.
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
All right. When you are ready, please state your name, affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Beth Hornback. I am a parent of a first grade student at Eisenhower and a third grade student in the self-contained high cap class at Eisenhower. And I'm also on the PTA Council Board and Eisenhower PTA Board. So I speak tonight as a parent, and I just want to reiterate what the two former panelists have had to say, which is just to say thank you to the board for mirroring and expressing our concerns about the proposed changes to the highly capable program for the fall that have been delayed. It's really been encouraging to see that with good conversation and the ability to have our voices heard, that we can affect change. And even if it's just too delayed, to be able to have our voices heard is an honor and a privilege, and I don't take it lightly. And I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to interact with the board some and the district as well, to be able to find out more about what's going on before this decision and how we can get involved as parents. And I just want to reiterate that my personal hope is that the team that was mentioned in the newsletter about the changes that are coming out would include not just parents, and not just parents of self-contained students, but parents of identified highly capable students, as well as gen ed teachers, the highly capable self-contained teachers, students, which I was really encouraged to see that presentation from Nora about the student advocacy group, because I just feel like having a really well-rounded work group that could kind of attack this issue from all sides would really help us have a creative approach to solutions to make really strong services for all identified students be equitable and offered across the district. And just even as parents, as we've talked through some of these ideas, not just amongst ourselves, but amongst other parents, teachers, the district staff, and even the board, just having that opportunity to see some of those creative ideas come out, I think is really powerful. And I hope that we'll continue to see involvement requested of us and encouraged from us as parents, and that we would be welcomed into a work group that would include all stakeholder voices for program changes, particularly as this is the first, this was mentioned last month, that this is the first programming change to be made under the new equity policy. And as Mindy mentioned earlier, while it might have appeared our advocacy at first was focused on the self-contained model exclusively, that is not, that we've found that we want our voices to expand to all identified students, highly capable students, to make sure that we are not watering down services for anyone, and making sure that the excellent services that are currently being provided are expanded and offered in a way that reduces barriers and helps all students take advantage of these awesome services. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. That was the last person signed up. We did not hear from Antonio Salado, so I do want to go back before we move on the agenda, just to check and see if he is there. He was going to be under Katie Bauer's account, so if we could maybe promote Katie's account really quick, just to see if he is there.
Promoting now.
Thank you.
Put your hand up.
Hi, is Antonio there?
He's not here. Sorry. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all your efforts.
You can let him know if he wants to submit his comments to us through our emails. That would be perfect. So
Will do. Thank you so much. Appreciate your efforts.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, next we are going to move on to some of our action items for our the rest of our agenda. The first thing that we have for action items is we have the approval of minutes. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move. I'll go ahead and second, Mrs. Wendy.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Sproul and Smith. So I had a second. So all those in favor of approving minutes, Director Decker?
I approve.
Director Smith,
Approve.
Director Sproul,
Approve.
and Director Zavala.
Approve.
Perfect. So the motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda. The consent agenda contains items both under instructional and administrative support services as well as fiscal support services. So this is a slate of items that will be approved as a whole. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Kathy. I approve. Motion to vote. Sorry.
I'll
Oh, was that Director Zavala? Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any comments? All right. So we will move forward in voting to approve the consent agenda items. Director Decker.
Approve.
Director Smith.
Approve.
Director Sproul.
Approve.
And Director Zavala.
Approve.
And the motion passes. Next on the items, we have one item of regular business. This is under instructional and administrative support services. I will have Dr. Snell introduce this item.
Yeah, thank you, Director Barrows. As discussed in the committee of the whole meeting, there's a proposal before you to name the artificial turf athletic field at Columbia River High School after coach and teacher, Mr. O'Rourke. And I'm going to ask Tom Hagley to just share briefly. I know he went over the process in the committee of the whole, but just since we're potentially having this adopted tonight, I would love for him to just give a little bit of background about engaging the community and how did we come up with this honor for John O'Rourke.
Thank you, Dr. Snell. Good evening, board members, colleagues, and community guests. A naming committee of Columbia River students, staff members, alumni, and parents recommends the naming of the synthetic turf field in honor of John O'Rourke, a longtime VPS coach and teacher. O'Rourke, who passed away in November 2021, had an exemplary career that spanned nearly 5 decades at Lewis Junior High and Columbia River High School. He retired from teaching in 2007, but went on to coach until 2015. O'Rourke was Elite Coach of the Year 9 times and District Coach of the Year twice. His teams achieved 14 league titles. He was inducted into the Washington State Coaches Hall of Fame in 2012. The Vancouver community was invited to take part in a survey to name the synthetic turf field at Columbia River High School. Survey was open to the public Tuesday, March 22nd through Monday, April 11th. Respondents were asked to indicate their support for naming the field after O'Rourke, or they were also able to suggest other names. And more than 81% of the 215 responses supported the naming of John O'Rourke Field at Columbia River High School. And I might add that many people left effusive comments about his legacy and service to students and families over the years as a teacher and a coach. Some real wonderful testimonials. And although there were some other names suggested by several people as alternates to consider, overwhelmingly community members supported that we honor Mr. O'Rourke with this naming of the field.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you walking us through that again. Director Barrows, we'd be happy to answer any questions or comments from the board before potential action on this item.
Okay, are there any questions before we motion to approve the name? All right, so do I have a motion to approve the name for the artificial turf athletic field at River?
I would love to make this motion.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Director Smith. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Director Sproul. Any discussion? I know we had the opportunity for questions before, but any discussion before we move on to a vote?
I just want to thank Tom for leading this. I love when the process is so engaging and includes so many from the community. And when we discussed this in April at our workshop, I didn't have historical context. And I have to say that since I've shared the proposed naming of the field, everybody has been so ecstatic. And it just seems like a real resounding sentiment from the community that this is very fitting for Columbia River. So thank you for the process.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm just going to jump in here and reiterate what Kyle said. I can't think of a more deserving person and a more fitting person to name the field after. So I'm just so very excited to be able to do this.
And of course, Director Smith is our Columbia River alumni. Anything else? All right, with that, we will go to the vote. Director Decker?
I approve.
Director Smith?
I approve.
Director Sproul?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve, so the motion passes. With that, those are all of our action items. Next on the agenda is Board of Directors report. I have a couple announcements to make just about upcoming meetings, but do any of our other directors have anything else to add before I get to that? Nope. Okay, so just a couple updates for some of our next meetings. On Thursday, we are all very excited to be going to the Foundation for Vancouver Public Schools luncheon. So I know we are all excited to support that group in our community. And so we would encourage others to, if you haven't already, send your donations to the foundation. We are excited to gather together in person. They've had some great virtual events the past couple of years. We're excited to do that on Thursday. Next week is on May 17th is our Committee of the Whole meeting. Typically then the following week, we have a study session that would be May 24th. We are actually not going to have our study session this May. There are some other directors with other things going on. It's a busy time. And so we are going to cancel that meeting. And then one last thing, I just wanted to point out our June regular board meeting. Typically our regular business meetings are the second Tuesday of the month, but just to point out, the one in June is actually on June 7th because June is busy with graduations and all sorts of end of the year events. So that is going to be a week earlier than is typical. So just for our community to be aware. And with that, I think that is pretty much it. I did want to give a shout out to all of our staff. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, which I like to call Educator Appreciation Week, because there are a lot of people that work to support all of our students in our schools. And so I don't know, I know several of us work in schools, and it just felt really great to get to celebrate with our fellow staff members, and just all the community support was really nice. So thank you to all of our staff in all of our schools. We really appreciate you. With that, we are going to recess to an executive session to discuss the performance of a public employee. There will be no action to follow. So we expect that we will be in our executive session for about 20 minutes. And then after that executive session, I will come back to this public meeting. And like I said, there is no action to follow, so we will just be adjourning the meeting once we return. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Have a great rest of your day. Go enjoy the sunshine while it is still out. Bye. our executive. We are back from our executive session. It is 6:51 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.